TGIF, everybody.
No kidding.
We made it to Friday.
Made it through the week.
Yeah, we always wonder, don't we? We always wonder if Friday's going to come back around, and it does.
We were snowed in. I didn't know if I was actually going to make it.
You have had enough of the snow in Auburn, Alabama, haven't you?
Yes, it needs to go.
Well, the big question is has Lucy had enough of the snow?
Where is she? Oh, she's on this side.
That dog is spoiled
is so asleep. She's been so tired from the snow because she'll get the zoomies every once in a while when we go out there, and she gets so excited and she's like, all right, I think I'm done with it now.
Right. I think we get the zoomies after we get held up in the house for too long. Too extended amounts of time cause humans to have zoomies too. So
that's what we were talking about yesterday. Finally, our workout classes got pushed out, and now we're able to go back. And my trainer, she said, I thought I was going to go crazy. I needed to get out of the house. My kids were driving me crazy.
Cabin fever is a real thing. It is. You start to go insane. You're like, okay, this is great for maybe a day or so. And now,
too many movies.
Yep. Can't do but so much inside the house. So we're glad everybody's jumping on with us this morning. A little bit late than normal, later than normal, because I had a meeting this morning and an appreciation breakfast that we had here in Alexander City. So we will be making an announcement for some of you that want to know. We'll be announcing the new head football coach at Benjamin Russell on Monday morning. So keep your eyes out for that. We'll be on Faith and I'll jump on the podcast Monday morning, and then I'm going to head out the door for the announcement somewhere around 9:00 Monday morning. So we'll jump on maybe a little bit earlier than normal. Faith.
Is Jason going to be on Monday?
Jason will be on Monday as well. We got a busy week.
We do.
I mean, we got a bunch of stuff going on. We got Bruce Pearl with us on Monday as well at noon for the Auburn Blitz show. So we'll talk about that, and looking forward to having Coach Pearl, hopefully after a big Tennessee win. I don't want to be the first appearance for him after a loss, okay? So let's, I want to win them all, but I really want to win this one so we can still be number one, and he feel really good about where we are and all that kind of stuff. Hey, looks like Janai Broom. We'll start there, Faith.
Yeah.
Actually, let me start with our great partners because, again, we're off kilter a little bit. It's my fault this morning that we're late. But Sense Green for air that's cool and clean, and there's plenty of cool air outside. So right now you want it to be warm and clean inside your house. Sense Green, the carrier experts here in the state of Alabama, will take care of you if you need a new unit, you need your unit repaired, call on them. They'll take care of you, and they'll come out and do an honest assessment and say, hey, look, we can save you money on your power bill if you upgrade. And so they're giving away, rebates on new units. So make sure you go out and check on Sensor Green if you're in the market for a new heating and air unit. Scout Program Management, talked to Sloan yesterday up in Birmingham. Those guys are super busy right now. They're a full-service construction management firm in Birmingham. They specialize in educational projects like new school builds, renovations, things like that. So if you're in the market for that or any type of construction project that you need a consulting firm to help you with start to finish keys in your hand, Scout Program Management is the company for you. And we're excited to add another partner. We got Bunkers we'll talk about a little bit later on, Sign Source Lee Apparel. Excited to announce that we'll have Sure Shot joining us in February, outdoor store on 280 in Alexander City. So for all you outdoors ladies and men out there that love hunting and hiking and anything else to do with outdoors, come up to Alexander City and check out Sure Shot right on 280. It's outstanding store. Got a crazy selection of firearms if you're looking for some type of firearm, and we'll have some things that we'll promote as they join us in February. So Faith, always good to see you and to get this Friday started. Excited about the game coming up. I got to ask you a question. Did you go by campus yesterday, and were there anybody out there camping out?
There wasn't anyone camping out, not that I saw when I went, but I'm going to go back again today because today they have normal school operations.
They'll be out there.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go there and see if there's gonna be people. I'm hoping.
Be nice and warm out there for them, right? Got to scrape some of the ice off the sidewalk. Mike says, good morning. Is Lyndon working for ESPN? She does work contracting for ESPN, Mike. We're actually going to have Lyndon on pretty soon on this podcast. Faith and I talked with her last week, had a great conversation. After our conversation with her, Vanderbilt went on a 2-game winning streak. Alabama shut that down pretty quick. So it's because she didn't go. That's the reason. That's why Vanderbilt lost. Is the Lyndon wasn't able to make the trip to Tuscaloosa. But yeah, she's in Nashville now, and wouldn't be surprised where she pops up. Man, she is super talented and really knowledgeable. But she's been working, college basketball games for ESPN for a while now, and so she fills in and she does color and play-by-play and then sideline stuff for football as well. So Auburn, Tennessee, game day. We've got a big junior day, Faith. Lots of names we're going to talk about. I sent over some stuff to you last night that we want to talk about this morning. From a college football standpoint, the week 1 schedule, pretty doggone good. We'll dive into that a little bit later on as well. So if you got some comments or questions out there, any of you watching us live, we would love to hear what those are. But we'll start with Auburn, Tennessee, Neville Arena. Auburn trying to finish up the first third of the SEC schedule undefeated. Faith, they've got a tough one in Tennessee coming in. Hey, Coach Pearl's press conference. Really nothing earth-shattering other than the Janai Broome going to try to go and practice some, and they're going to monitor him. And you can kind of tell that, it's a really hour-by-hour situation and evaluation of him. They don't want to rush him back by any means. But if they feel like he can contribute and he can play in this game Saturday, he will. That's kind of the vibe I got. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of trust between Coach Pearl and Janai. So I think him being able to say, hey, I'm not going to be 110% like you asked me to. I'm not going to be in the game. But yeah, I mean, like we've said for the past week, you're not going to remember a game in January, but you're going to remember a game in March that you lose. And I think he knows that. But I mean, I think, again, they've proven themselves without him on the road. And he did say in that presser that, road games are hard. Road games, especially in the SEC, like we were at Georgia without him, are hard. And we've proven ourselves there. So,
yeah, any road game, but especially that one early by, that early trip to Georgia. They were undefeated at home when Auburn rolled in. And, anytime you get a win on the road, it's big. But obviously Georgia's proven that, they're a young team, but very talented team with Demery at point guard and got Asa Newell there in the middle, who was a guy that Bruce Pearl really wanted to be part of our team. But again, in this world of NIL and everything, you're not going to be able to go and get every player that you want. You got to prioritize. And obviously Auburn prioritized Tahad Pettiford, which was a great priority. They prioritized Ja'Kai Howard, which was also a great priority. And we're seeing Ja'Kai Howard get better and better as the season goes along. And that was the hope, that you see your freshmen, get better and better. Let's run down the slate on Saturday of games here in the SEC, Faith. Another good swath of games. Can South Carolina get over the hump? I mean, this is the best 0-6 team in the country. Nobody wants to be labeled that, but they have had 4 really close games, one with us that could have gone either way, and it didn't work out for them. They've got a good Mississippi State team at home, but Mississippi State has proven to be a different team on the road than they have been at the hump in Starkville. So South Carolina, a dangerous team. Have they kind of had their mojo stripped from them by starting the season. We'll see. But I think it's a good opportunity for a win for South Carolina on Saturday.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it being at home for them is going to be, again, their biggest advantage because Mississippi State hasn't been very successful on the road.
Right. Kentucky goes to Vanderbilt.
Linden should go. Just
if Linden's there, Kentucky might as well not even show up. I mean, it's game, set, match, no doubt about it. But I think obviously Vanderbilt's again a team at home that can beat anybody, and Kentucky's shown some chinks in the armor themselves going on the road and losing. You got Texas A&M and Texas. That's a rival game. Texas A&M heading to Austin, Texas for that game. Another rival game, Georgia and Florida. Georgia will head down to the O'Connell Center in Gainesville. And can Georgia get a big road win in Gainesville? We'll check that one. Ole Miss coming off that heartbreaking loss to Texas A&M. They'll go on the road to Missouri, who is a pretty doggone good basketball team. So they're going to have their work cut out for them on that road trip. LSU is terrible. They had to Coleman Coliseum take on Alabama. That's probably going to be a 20 to 30 point blowout would be my guess. And then Oklahoma will travel to Arkansas. Arkansas finally got over the hump with that win, with the one, again, last second pull out win there at home to get their first conference win. But that's the schedule. And of course, Auburn will host Tennessee. That's the matchup of the day around the country. Game day is, I thought that was a cool stat. Now they'll probably end up going to Duke or Kansas, but Bruce said if they don't, Auburn will be the only program that game day's been on their campus for 5 consecutive years. Who would have ever thought that in basketball?
In basketball, yeah, that's different than football, but I think that's awesome. And like he thanked, the fan base and the students and how they've really kind of made the experience for everyone. Just everyone needs to be at Neville Arena when Auburn's playing at home.
There's no doubt about it. It's the best environment in college basketball. He talked about that. Let's talk about the game. When you look at Tennessee, they got some really good players. They're obviously led by Zakai Ziegler, very good point guard. Denver Jones will have another tough assignment, but Denver Jones has been up to the challenge all year to this point. I don't think he is going to be any different in this game. Chaz Lanier just scored 23 in the last outing for Tennessee. He averages 18.4 points a game. That's 2 really good basketball players there for Tennessee, but you got to like the X factor in this game, and that's Auburn being at home. I mean, this is a top 6 team in the country. They were number 1 until they went on the road and had that really, really bad loss, and then since then they dropped 1 to Vanderbilt. But this is still a 17-2 Tennessee team, and Auburn's going to have to play good. Everybody goes, well, Neville Arena, it's hard to win in there, but Auburn plays great in Neville Arena. The rare times Auburn hasn't shot the ball well, they've lost. They've lost to Kentucky. They've lost to Texas A&M a handful of times. There's a few times in the last 5 years Auburn, when they've shown up and not played their best, they've been beaten. So this is definitely a team, Faith, that can come into Neville Arena and knock Auburn off if they're not sharp.
Yeah, no, there's definitely that possibility. But I also think just the confidence that Neville Arena gives and kind of the environment, I feel like, is going to have to just really set the tone. And I mean, Tennessee, they were moving the ball fast. When they just played, did they just play?
You talking about on Wednesday?
On Tuesday.
On Tuesday?
Against Mississippi State.
Yeah, against State.
Yeah, they were moving the ball fast. And I think sometimes that's where we can either get a lot of fouls during that time and kind of set ourselves back.
Well, if you remember, against Georgia. That game was kind of a rock fight game at halftime, and Tennessee sped the game up and kind of ran away from Georgia. And that really kind of plays into our hands. We're already an up-tempo, fast-paced type team, so they're not going to really be able to speed us up. And when you speed teams up, Faith, you make mistakes. And that's one thing that Randy and I was talking about the other day. We don't really let you get comfortable. We challenge inbounds passes. We kind of do a token press, and then we'll drop back, and then we'll challenge you again at half court, then we'll drop back. We don't ever let somebody get kind of in a comfort zone where they can walk the ball up the floor, and we're always in your face. We're always in the passing lanes. We're always making things extra difficult for teams, routine stuff. We're trying to get them to run the shot clock down inside of 5 seconds and make and take a wild shot. So there's a lot of different things that Auburn defensively does to throw teams off, and that's kind of the mojo of Tennessee. They do the same thing, but I think we're better at doing that than they are.
Yeah, I mean, I think though they've got so many guys that are good at shooting out at that 3-point line that, you know, they move that ball so fast, and then they've got one person that's just set up right in that corner, and they're draining it. And so I think that's going to be not the hardest thing for Auburn, but again, I think the student section is actually going to play a huge part in it. And I know I say that every single time, like when we talk about Neville Arena, but like seriously, they are so close to the court and they are so loud that I think that same thing at the free throw line.
Yeah, I think, you know, Auburn's had a home court advantage on the road this year, almost everywhere they've gone. I mean, even when they went to Duke, you saw Duke talk about, and they sent a letter out to their fans about, don't ever let this happen again. We were getting – I don't know how many times that's ever happened in Duke basketball history, especially in the last 50 years, where an opposing team's fan – that's how rabid our fan base is. That's how important basketball has become at Auburn. And Bruce Pearl obviously is one of the biggest reasons for that, and the culture that he's built and what he's been able to do with this program. I don't think anybody saw that coming, Faith. I don't think anybody 7-8 years ago could have foreseen what Bruce Pearl's been able to do here at Auburn in basketball. And again, it shows that if you put a priority on things and you put the funds in, you can turn something around, because we don't mince any words. I mean, Auburn was the bottom dweller in this league. There wasn't a team that was more consistently bad. Maybe Ole Miss, maybe some of those teams, but nobody really – I don't know that we could have topped anybody from a consistently bad standpoint. And now we're consistently a contender. I mean, that's harder to do than people – it took him 4 years. It took him 4 years to put a product on the floor where you felt like, okay, this team can go out and really compete year in and year out. And, man, it's just been upward since then.
I think, too, something that does make a big difference that a lot of people probably don't either know or really look into that much, but he really does put so much of his own time into the boys and into making them like a family outside of the arena. You know what I mean? Like, they traveled to Israel and they were
team bonding.
Right. And I think, first of all, going that far away from Auburn, Alabama is hard within itself, but also just doing something so spiritual and, you know, like really emotional for a lot of them. I think that was.
Hey, what about that being a once in a lifetime trip for anybody?
Right. Exactly. Like, who are you spending it with? And the fact that he was able to, you know, make that a really huge part for a lot of them and their faith and all that kind of stuff, I think shows the man that Bruce is, but also you just see how close a lot of those guys are getting and how much they really care for each other. And that's going to relay out on the court. In football,
absolutely.
In football, they were saying this past year that when I talked to Keldrick, he was saying that all those boys are starting to do team bonding, and that it was becoming a family on the defensive side. But he said we didn't do that before. We didn't actually really
you saw the
become a family,
success of the defense too.
and it makes such a difference. So,
Well, look, if you've been around athletics at all in your life, you can take a bunch of talented people and put them on a team, but if they don't have a chemistry, they're probably not going to be successful. You can probably win, a lot of games based off of your talent. But at the end of the day, you're probably not ever going to win or compete for a championship because, it's a bunch of people playing in silos. It's people operating in silos.
It creates a selfish team. It creates people playing only for themselves, when I don't think there's a single selfish player on our team. I don't think there's a single person taking shots only for themselves.
Well, and I think that we said this maybe a week or two ago. I don't know how many coaches could manage this many talented players and keep the egos at bay and keep the depth, because most teams, they don't have 10 players that they can run in and out on the court. You have a starting five and you may go 3 to 4 deep in the bench, but Auburn legit could play 11 players. And I think when you look at it, we could put another starting five out there that would rival most anybody else's original starting five. So we, in essence, have 2 starting teams in one, and everybody can't get 40 minutes in a game. Everybody can't get 30 minutes in a game, and everybody's got a role. And when you got a bunch of highly touted players, it's hard to manage that and say, okay, you're going to only get 20, 22, maybe 23 minutes a game, because we got to get other guys in and we want to work other guys in. And so getting young kids to buy into that philosophy and not be selfish, because that question's been asked of Bruce Pearl by national media and all that. So how do you do what you do? Because players know they can go somewhere else and probably play 30, 35 minutes. Look at Janai Broom, for an example. He averages almost 18 points a game. Faith, it's rare that he gets over 30 minutes in a game. This is the number one player in the country.
Right.
How many other number one players, like Cooper Flagg, he's got to be averaging 34, 35 minutes a game. I mean, this guy is Duke. I mean, I know they got some other good players, but I don't know that if you took Cooper Flagg off Duke, they could maintain the way Auburn's maintained without Janai Broom. And if Cooper Flagg was at Auburn, he wouldn't be getting 35, 38 minutes. I mean, again, it just shows you that you do have to battle that from a recruiting standpoint. Other coaches say, look, if you go to Auburn, you're only going to play about 20. Because what I'm saying is, what could Janai Broom's numbers be if he had another 10, 11 minutes that he averaged a game under his belt? I mean, they could be even better than what they are.
Right.
So it does. It's a great feather in Bruce's cap that he can pull this off. And I hate to say it, in a very selfish world that we live in now, because that's all we talk about is me, and what can I get and how much more money can I get? And I'm fine with that. There's nothing wrong with, obviously, we're both pro-capitalistic society here. We all should be able to go out and make a living if we're able to work and go do the things we want to do. But we have turned into a very selfish society, and it is permeated the sports world. So when you can be a coach and you can navigate a team that's got that much talent and depth and make everybody happy, and you don't have a bunch of guys disgruntled, and you can kind of keep that chemistry going, it's big. The Outlive game is Saturday. That's a big deal. I want to say something about that because, and Bruce kind of explained it in his press conference. It's as an opportunity for people to be aware, men and women, to be pre-screened and to know that if you fall under certain age brackets for things that you need to get checked, and all of that money goes to people that are having to go through chemo and radiation and they're missing work, and it goes to their expenses. It doesn't go to brick and mortar. It doesn't go to some foundation. It doesn't go to science and research. It goes to help people that need the help, that are going through. And great story out of Tallapoosa County here. Can't say enough about that family, and most of you saw the video on them and their son, and I'll talk about them here a little bit later on. But just great people. And Bruce and the team visited him at Children's in Birmingham, and he was able to sit behind the bench at the game in Birmingham when Auburn played Purdue, and just again, the actions and what that cause does for so many people, and it's a special deal. And so if you haven't bought your Outlive shirt, you'll have an opportunity to do that on Saturday. And I know it all affects us at some point in time, whether it be us immediately or a family member or whoever it is. It's going to affect you in some form or fashion. And the best way to outlive cancer is to detect it early. And that's what Bruce talks about. So I did want to say something about that, Faith. And I know that's important for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people in my family, we've lost them to, breast cancer, and family, friends, and everything like that. So it's just important that catching it early. And I know if anyone's like college age or everything like that, there's still a chance, and just being careful and being aware of those things.
Right. So yeah, just make sure you take advantage of that and support that cause, because it does affect so many people out there. And again, you'll be able to walk in if you're going to the game. You'll be able to take that in and walk in and see the table set up, and you buy that T-shirt. That money goes directly to that great cause. All right. The people I was talking about, Sheena and Scott Hunter, from here in Tallapoosa County, and their son Hayes. He's kind of been adopted by the Auburn basketball team, and there was a great short, like a 15-minute video that Auburn did on him, and just the inspiration and what he went through fighting leukemia, and is now on the good side of that thing, and the team visiting him, but just known Sheena and Scott for a long time here personally. Sheena actually was an ambassador for me at Central Alabama Community College way long time ago. So I've known them and known Scott, a long time as well. So just really special people, and just a great testimony and great story of what they've been through and what Outlive did to help them as well, and how special Bruce Pearl and that Auburn basketball team is to them. So look, we all appreciate stories, but when you know people personally and you're able to see that, it kind of hits home a little bit more. So go support, I guess, is the long story short. Go support that cause. It's a great cause, and it goes to help people like them and others out there that are needing help, because man, your world can be turned upside down in 2 seconds. And so we thoughts and prayers to all those people out there battling those things with their family. So going to be a big game on Saturday. Looking forward to it. Faith, I want to talk about some of our great partners here, and obviously Bunkers. Faith and I are going to have a golf challenge one day. We might even film it. So we'll see how good our golf games are in the simulation booth. But come out to Bunkers. They have great food. They've got a great bar. The atmosphere is outstanding. Never know who you're going to run into in there. During the recruiting cycle, all of Auburn's teams, they bring those recruits into Bunkers, because why not? That's a cool place to hang out and have a good time and kind of fellowship with, other recruits. And I bet you anything there'll be some of those big-time juniors that are coming in on Saturday. They'll make their way to Bunkers at some point in time this weekend, Faith. So everybody go out to Bunkers. Doesn't matter if it's lunch, dinner, whenever it is, and check them out. That place is awesome. Don't take our word for it. Go experience it yourself. All right, Faith, again, it's never too early. We're going to get to recruiting here in just a minute. We're going to talk about some of these players. But the first week of college football, what a slate of games. The very first week, man, you better buckle up right out of the gate. let's just listen to some of these games. You got Texas at Ohio State. I mean, dadgum, that's a rematch of the semifinal game.
Exactly.
So they open up. So Texas, that'll be Arch Manning leading Texas into Ohio State without Will Howard, without some of those key players for Ohio State. Will Ryan Day be there? I don't know. But that's going to be an intriguing game. You got LSU going to Clemson. You got a battle of Tigers there. The fake Southerner will take his Tigers over to Clemson, South Carolina. That should be an interesting game, as Clemson was a playoff team as they won the ACC. Tennessee goes to Syracuse. Always hard to go play in the Carrier Dome, man. I don't care how good Syracuse is. That place is a trap, and that is not a fun place to go play, but Tennessee will go there. Our Auburn Tigers will take on Baylor. So, I mean, Jackson Arnold, Deuce Knight. Will they be taking on Walker White? I doubt it. We'll see.
He had some big words, man.
I know. See if he can. How crazy would that be, though? That would add a lot more luster to the story, for sure.
Do you think he's going to play?
I don't. I really don't. I'm just trying to build this game up.
But why are we talking all that? Why is he talking all that?
Well, because he's got to talk about something, because he left. And he said he didn't run from competition. And so what? Whatever, right? Boise will go to South Florida. That'll be interesting. Nebraska will go to Cincinnati. TCU at North Carolina. Will Bill Belichick be there is the question.
Sorry, guys.
Hey, Lucy doesn't think so. Lucy doesn't think that Bill Belichick. See, Lucy even knows that Bill Belichick's a fraud.
Yeah.
I mean, so you got Notre Dame at Miami. That's interesting. Notre Dame, a championship game contender, playing Carson Beck. And here's one that you better watch. Alabama at Florida State. Now, I know Florida State was terrible last year, but Mike Norvell has gotten on the trail. They've done a really good job recruiting. They have Gus Malzahn as their offensive coordinator now. And DeBoer coming off a bad loss to Michigan. A lot of different – they're going to have a new quarterback, probably Keelan Russell. He's going to be a true freshman starting. That one could be interesting right there. If Alabama were to go on the road and slip up, you talk about some hot seats. Alabama fans would come unglued, especially as bad a year as Florida State had this past year.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This last year that they had, whew.
Rough.
That'll be a bad Sunday.
That will be a bad game for sure. South Carolina will go to Virginia Tech. Georgia Tech will go to Colorado. Will Deion be at Colorado? Or will he be the new Cowboys head football coach? We'll see. Will he even get offered that job? That's the question. Utah will go to UCLA. Not even going to mention those other two games. They suck. So, but that's really your week one slate. Some pretty doggone good games for week one.
Yeah, I want to see the battle of the Tigers, LSU and Clemson.
Yep. Brian Kelly. LSU in opening games the last few years, it hasn't been good. They lost to USC in Vegas this year, and didn't they lose the year before in the opener? I want to say they did.
I'm trying to think.
Lost to Florida State, didn't they?
Oh, you're right. Yep.
Lost to Florida State. I'm telling you, man, like if he started – and that's not an easy trip for them. And I'm telling you, I think they've underachieved under Brian Kelly at best. So
they're losing some good players.
I don't know what time these games are, but the Ohio State-Texas game for me will probably be that big noon kickoff game.
Yeah, for sure.
And that just sucks, man.
Yeah.
A game of that magnitude that's going to kick off at noon Eastern time, which would be 11 o'clock our time. That's not, I mean, to me that just takes – but they do it to try to get prime time spot in the middle of the day. But that game needs to be at night.
I think so too. Absolutely.
But we'll see how that's pulled off. Ohio State is hosting that game. So it'll probably be a Fox game rather than an ABC game. One of those situations there. So that's pretty interesting. All right, another thing I sent over to you, some random stuff here on this Friday. Most valuable SEC programs according to the Wall Street Journal. Now, some of these are okay. I expected it to be there. Some of these are eye-opening, and not eye-opening on the front side, eye-opening on some of these at the bottom. All right, so they rank the top 100 teams. We're just going to pull out the SEC teams. So 66th and dead last in the SEC, drum roll, everybody can guess, is the Vanderbilt Commodores at $112 million. That's what the value of their program is. So I'm not scoffing at $112 million, but in the scheme of things with some of these private equity firms, $112 million is very attainable. If you wanted to buy somebody or buy a company, $112 million is a drop in the bucket to some of these people. So I'm putting it in perspective of, hey, I mean, there's people out there that could drop a $112 million check in the mail and buy Vanderbilt. And I was shocked at Missouri, Faith, coming in at 63rd in the country, worth only $168 million. I was surprised by that one.
Yeah, that one I was actually surprised at Vanderbilt. Honestly,
Really?
If Vanderbilt, well, okay, I take it back. I wasn't surprised that it was the last one in the SEC, but what I think is that if Vanderbilt, I think they would be able to have all the money in the world, and they would be able to buy and recruit so many players and become the best team.
Like SMU?
Yes.
Private school?
I mean, because Vanderbilt, the people that come out of there are so smart.
Well, maybe their value increases now. Maybe you see this number in a couple of years. Yeah, right.
Right. That's this past season is where I started to think, oh my gosh, this school could be so good if they put in the money.
If they put attention to athletics.
Right. Because the people that come out of there are so smart.
They absolutely are.
So much money.
Then you got Mississippi State at $197 million. That's about what I figured.
Yeah, I didn't.
Kentucky at $202 million. They're 57th in the country. South Carolina, I'm just going to blow through some of these. South Carolina at 312, Ole Miss at 411. That gets you in the top 30. And this is top most valuable SEC programs, by the way, according to the Wall Street Journal. Arkansas at $616 million. Thought they'd be worth a little bit more than that with all that Walmart money they have. But they're in the top 20. They're at 19. So we're in the top 20 in the country now. Number 14 is Florida at $793 million. The Auburn Tigers come in at number 12 in the country at $843 million. We're knocking on the $1 billion mark, by the way. $843 million. Alabama, with $3 million more than us, $846 million, has them at 11th. A little shocked by that one. Thought that one may even be a little higher, comparable to some of these other teams. Now you get out there in the West, in the Midwest, and you see all this oil money. Oklahoma, $881 million in 10th. A&M at a cool $1 billion. A cool $1 billion for Texas A&M. A cool $1 billion for Tennessee at 8th. 1.06 for LSU at 6th. Georgia, $1.3 billion estimated value of that program. And Texas comes in at number 2 at 1.89, almost to the $2 billion mark. Texas. And then Ohio State comes in at number 1. We don't count them, obviously, because they're not. But I had to tell everybody who number 1 is. But not bad. Auburn at 12th. Just shy of $900 million. When the top program is right at $2 billion, and that's Ohio State. So the value, Auburn has a big time value. We've always said it. Auburn's a top 15 program historically in about every category. So we got to start playing like that, Faith. We're not playing like that right now.
People would think it's hard to believe because of the way that our seasons have gone.
Right.
And I mean, I agree. Like, we have not played like that. And I mean, obviously, as you can see, we've got a ton of money to.
We're like the Dallas Cowboys. We're worth a lot, but we're not showing our worth.
Oh,
The
geez.
Dallas Cowboys have sucked it up for so many years now. Yep. So, again, we need to break that trend, need to get on the winning side of things. I want to also drop another tidbit of information. We like to follow former players. By the way, it was good to see Marcus Davis last night at Benjamin Russell up here recruiting Sadarian Morgan, who we will talk about again here in a little bit when we finally get to the junior day list. But former wide receiver Sammy Coates will be taking on maybe the biggest challenge here in the state of Alabama. He was just named as the new head football coach at Columbia High School. All right, so Faith, with all of us working with HSA, we've been following Columbia for a long time, and not for a good reason. Columbia has now lost 91 games in a row. Trying to get on the winning side of things, it has been almost 10 years since they won a football game. Went 0-10 last year, obviously. So he will be taking home the challenge. And kudos to him, man. Look, I feel for those kids in Columbia. Like, when you play and you get up and you go put the pads on every day at practice and you're like, maybe this week will be the week. And then you go out and you just get killed. It tests your fortitude and your perseverance to keep going out there and getting beat. So I'm pulling for Sammy Coates. He's a great person. I think he'll instill some discipline and some work ethic in those kids, and I think they'll get a win this year. But I'm pulling for him. I'm pulling for those kids because, man, there's going to be a celebration like none other at that high school when they get that win. I mean, those cheerleaders, that band, that student body, you're going to think they won the state championship when they finally get over the hump, get that win.
Rightfully so. They deserve to act that way. I went to high school in Georgia, and we were a new school, and we were so bad at football. I cannot imagine. You said 93 games?
91.
91.
91 consecutive games they've lost.
I cannot imagine.
Horrendous. Horrible.
That would make me very, very sad.
Oh, man, that's just, again, that's 10 years of not getting to celebrate. Like going out and playing a 10-game schedule every year and just, okay, that's what we do. We roll out here.
So sad.
Pulling for those kids, man. I am pulling so hard for Columbia this year to get in the winning column because nobody wants to be that. Nobody wants to carry that streak.
No, that has to be one of like the hardest jobs to take. So good for Sammy to be able to say,
absolutely,
hey, I'm going to be able to turn your program around. Let's see what happens.
All right, the wait's over. Let's get down to some of these players that will be in, and I'm not going to go through all of them. Our good friend Jason Caldwell and Christian Clemente on 24/7. They're going to be covering this all weekend, so make sure you go and check them out on 24/7. Jason will be on Monday. Man, that's going to be great to have him on Monday to talk about this weekend, Faith.
Absolutely.
So make sure you tune us in. We're going to probably get started a little bit earlier. Faith and I will probably jump on around 7:45, and then we'll get Jason to come in at 8, and we'll probably keep Jason with us till about 8:30, and then we'll get off because we have a big announcement here in Alexander City that we're going to be announcing who the new football coach is for Benjamin Russell. So I've got to be part of that on Monday morning. All right, let's go down through here. I mean, we start with the 5-star guys, and we've talked about them. Zion Ely, I think that's a big add to this list. The number one edge rusher in the country. He's committed to Maryland right now, but his teammate, Wayne Henry, will be coming with him. He's already committed to Auburn in this 26 class. There's already a pipeline that's been established from it seems to be established from there. You're also going to have Jira Edwards, a 4-star safety that's going to be making the trip. So you're going to have 3 kids from that school coming from Maryland down here, and they're all highly ranked. And Auburn's already got one of them committed. They've already got some on the roster from last year from this high school. And now you're going to be adding 3 more on the visitor list here coming in tomorrow. So huge. Anytime you can get one of the best players in the country to come into your school, and like we talked about with Sedarian, Faith, that atmosphere he's going to walk into in the Tennessee game Saturday night is going to be probably none like he's ever seen. So he's committed to Maryland, but I don't think that really matters right now. I think he's going to have an opportunity, and if he feels the camaraderie and some of his teammates he's been playing with commit, which some have already committed, and they talk him into, I think Auburn may have a legit shot at the number 1 edge rusher, the number 2 national. He's the number 2 overall player in the country.
Yep.
So there are some big-time names on this list, and he is probably the biggest name on the list tomorrow, Faith.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think he's been committed since December. That right. That means nothing right now.
Nothing.
And again, he's got some of his teammates that are coming and that are committed. He could sway either way.
Another big player, and I really mean big, literally and figuratively, Emmanuel Ianecho. I believe I got his name right. We've all said it 2 or 3 different ways. So I apologize if I butchered it. 6'6", 345 pounds, the number 5 national player in the country, the number 2 offensive tackle. Guess where he's from? He's also from Maryland, but he's from Rockville, Maryland. Of course, his list is massive. He's got over 30 offers. But you're going to have perhaps maybe the best offensive lineman in the country, along with the best defensive end in the country, and the best wide receiver in the country, all at the same junior day. And I'm talking about Sedarian Morgan. And then you're going to have Tristan Keys. Tristan Keys is the kid that is ranked ahead of Sedarian at number 1. So you're going to have the number 1, number 2 receiver in the nation all together. Now, Tristan Keys is committed to Tennessee. He's from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Auburn has good luck in Mississippi.
He and Deuce are friends.
Absolutely.
And who wouldn't hate to see one of your really good friends out on the field?
Well, how about put another Freeze 4 together? We talked about that the other day, right?
We talked about that the other day.
I saw Marcus Davis yesterday and had a good conversation with him. He obviously was up here watching Sedarian play basketball, and Sedarian had another good night. Like I told you, you asked me how he did. I said, just a normal night for Sedarian, 20 points, double-digit rebounds, and about 3 highlight dunks. I wish I had the camera going on the reverse alley-oop. And, dude, that thing came out of nowhere. Like, it was on the other side of the floor, but I think the roof kind of moved on the gym a little bit. Everybody jumped at the same time. It was crazy. But he had 2 or 3 more dunks in the game. But you expect it. It's like it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when he's going to kind of rattle the rafters with a thunder dunk. But this is a big deal getting Tristan Keys in and Sedarian Morgan together. I mean, you could start to build that same kind of receiver class that you had with Malcolm Simmons and Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson and Bryce Kane. I know we saw Malcolm and Cam a pretty good bit. We saw flashes of Perry Thompson, and we didn't see much of Bryce Kane. I think you'll see more of them, obviously. And then you add Eric Singleton in to the mix. Auburn obviously is going to be loaded at receiver this year. But, look, you got to keep restocking because you don't know who's staying. You don't know who's leaving. You don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, Justin, I'm working my way down the list. Marquez Daniel is another one. Like I said, the Freeze 4? Could that be the next Freeze 4? He's a 4-star receiver from Booker T. Washington, and I talked about that yesterday, Faith. Remember Joe Phillips from Booker T. Washington? This could be another Freeze 4 in the making. Could you get Tristan Keys, Sadarian Morgan, and Marquez Daniel? I mean, man, I like Marcus Davis's chances. I don't know anybody better than him out there on the recruiting trail when it comes to finding and solidifying and landing the top receivers in the country.
No, I'm right there with you.
All right, some more of these names. Like I said, Jaira Edwards is a 4-star safety. It's going to be Vodney Cleveland, defensive lineman from Parker High School. When you look at Vodney Cleveland, he's a guy that came over from Prattville. Very, very talented player. Big-time defensive lineman, big guy in the middle. He's another one that, again, on the defensive side of the football, Auburn continues to rack up very talented players. I love what's going on the defensive side of the ball, Faith. I mean, Auburn kept us – the defense kept us in every football game last year.
Every single football game.
I mean, you talked to Keldrick Faulk last year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we knew he was going to be a player that took the next step. He is outstanding. He is definitely a all-SEC, all-American type player. Hugh Freeze talked about that. I think that's probably the biggest recruit for Hugh Freeze in year one is getting him to flip from Florida State. But kind of talk about him and maybe the impact he would have on being – he was really the leader this year as a sophomore on this defense.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. He went to media days as a sophomore, and I think he was the youngest player that was there. And
right.
when I spoke with him, I spoke with him over the summer and then also a little bit throughout the season. But he told me, he said that no matter the age, because in their locker room there were a lot of young guys, and
right.
he is one of those young guys. You know what I mean? He's still really young. He was a true sophomore, and he and Coach Freeze, he said their relationship was growing and their trust together was growing, and that Keldrick was able to actually have a relationship of not authority, but being a bigger character in the locker room to
right.
help the younger kids. And obviously Eugene Asante was, a vet, and he had a big voice in the locker room too. But I think now he's going to be gone, and, Keldrick is going to be that voice of bringing them together, not only on the field, but off the field.
And then you add probably, I think maybe the biggest signee we had in the 25 class, also from Parker High School, teammate of Vodney Cleveland, was Jordan Crawford.
Yeah.
I watched Jordan Crawford several times this year. Jordan Crawford is a grown man. I'm telling you, he's one of the best I've seen at the high school level. He was really unblockable in that Saraland game. He caused a lot of problems on almost every snap.
Right.
So you get Jordan Crawford, who I think is going to come in like Malik Blockton did last year and have an immediate impact. You add him in there, he's going to – obviously Vodney Cleveland and him played side by side for Parker on that state championship team. So I think Auburn and look, Jordan Crawford kind of got all the accolades this past year, but I was able to see Vodney Cleveland in that state championship game, and I'm going to tell you, man, he's impressive. Look, you win at the line of scrimmage on both sides, offensive line and defensive line. And for so many years, over multiple coaching staffs, Auburn didn't make the offensive and defensive line a priority. And now Auburn is making the offensive and defensive line a priority. You got probably the best tackle in Ianacho coming in. You got Vodney Cleveland coming in. He's the number 3 defensive lineman in the nation. You got Jordan Crawford last year. I mean, Auburn is is saying we got to win the trenches, and then they're getting it done at the skill position as well with all the receivers and the great running backs we've had, but they're getting the linemen that we need to compete in this league and to compete nationally. So Rodney Cleveland, 28 plus offers for him. But I love our chances with that kid having Jordan Crawford already on the roster and having a guy that I think is going to come in and have an immediate impact on this Auburn football team next year. Anthony Davis is one to watch. Linebacker from Grayson, Georgia. Again, a priority for us. One of the top linebackers in the country, number 19 ranked linebacker. Anytime you get a player from Grayson, Georgia, Faith, there's certain high schools that you recruit. Thompson, one of them. Thompson High School, you go out and get Jared Smith and Anquan Fagans and those type players. We have a pipeline going from there. You want players from Phoenix City. You want players from Grayson, Georgia. They are a winning program. They spit out, top talent after top talent every single year. So you're going to be looking at that. And then obviously Nasir McCoy is another player from Georgia, but he's from Buford. So anytime you hear Grayson, anytime you hear Buford, you want players from those high schools.
That's where I was about to go is you've got Grayson and you've got Buford. And guess what?
Yeah.
Those are the two schools that every single year you don't want to play them. They've got kids that are, just they're not boys. They're not young boys. They are grown men that are insane.
All right, here's another big one that I think everybody needs to watch. And this kid reclassified to the 26 class. He was part of the 27 class, but he reclassified from Jackson, Alabama, Xavier Crowell. By some indications, one of the, if not the top running back in the country. I know 24/7 has him ranked as the 12th player now in the 26, but in the 27 class, he was the number one running back. So I think there'll be some reevaluation on him. Definitely think he's a priority. Again, a kid here from the state of Alabama. You and I saw Jackson High School up close and personal. We know about Landon Duckworth. We know how great of a quarterback he is. The wide receiver from there as well. Really, really good player. But Xavier Crowell, a guy that I think Auburn will make a priority. We saw him run the football. Dominant running back. Got great size. When you look at him from a standpoint of 5'11", 205 pounds, he's well put together. Got great speed. He's got everything that you're looking for in an elite running back. So good to see that he's going to be making the trip in on Saturday as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, a few more before we sign off here. Here's some Auburn commits that'll be in Auburn tomorrow. So they're going to be, in essence, recruiters. They're already bought in. They're already committed. So they're going to be trying to get the rest of these guys to buy in as well. We talked about it. JaMichael Garrett from Gulf Shores High School has moved to Auburn, has transferred to Auburn High School. Devin Carter from Douglas County, Georgia, as a 4-star wide receiver. We talked about Wayne Henry from St. Francis Academy. He'll be trying to lure his teammates in and get them to commit. Jaira Edwards and Zion Ely. Man, it would be huge to get one of those guys to commit. Shadarius Tootle from Cottage Hill down in Mobile as another 4-star linebacker, and Hezekiah Harris, Faith, who we profiled the other day, another top edge rusher from Mae Jemison. I think this kid has a high ceiling. He's already a 4-star, but I think he could be even higher than that. 6'5", 220 pounds. He's going to continue to grow. He's the number 8 edge rusher in the country. So you got him along with Zion Ely. You're going to have some pretty good defensive ends out there that you're trying to land. Of course, Hezekiah Harris is already committed. And then Denarius Gray is a 4-star wide receiver from Chaminade, Madonna. And that's another high school. Anytime you see Chaminade, Madonna from Florida, you want players from that high school. So when you look down the list, if you take off the players and you just look at the high school listing, that's where you want to be. You're like, okay, we're doing good. That's the players that we want.
It makes sense that it's coming from there.
No doubt.
You trust what you see.
And then Omar Mapson, who just reclassified to 25, the running back from Auburn High School, who's ranked a 3-star, he'll be making the trip in as well. Now, he's got to be coming down the line. I mean, signing day is coming up in February, the second signing day. So all eyes on Omar Mapson from Auburn High School to see if maybe he goes ahead and pulls the trigger this weekend and decides to make his pledge to Auburn. But didn't go through all the lists. But, again, we want to encourage you to go to 24/7 with Jason Caldwell and Christian Clemente. They do a great job. They'll be covering it all week. And then we'll have Jason on Monday to kind of recap the weekend with me and Faith, which we're looking forward to. And then,
hey, Brett, the standing tickets for the Tennessee Auburn game in Neville Arena, there's standing tickets for only $300.
Oh, really?
And like $61 if you want to buy them.
Only $361 to go stand up.
Hey,
man,
and I think it said like 400 something to be in all the way up, so you don't have to stand; you can sit.
How about
for only $400?
For only $400.
Yeah. So if you wanted to go, I just wanted to let you know.
I thought you were about to make an announcement that you got us tickets to go, but you were just passing along the price. So maybe one day, maybe the Alabama game, right?
Hey, maybe
we'll see. Well, a lot of fun this weekend. The weather's gorgeous. It's still cold, but all the winter stuff got out of here. It's going to be a great weekend. It's a big weekend. Game day, obviously, tomorrow, which is a big deal. Number 6 Tennessee. Man, it's going to be a great environment. Got all these juniors coming in that we just talked about. We'll be getting a full report from Jason Caldwell on Monday here on the show, and we're excited to have Jason start joining us on Mondays for Jason's Monday morning mailbag. I'm sure he will be able to answer some of those questions that people have for him on 24/7. He'll be able to answer those right here on the Auburn Blitz podcast. So we want you to tune in. We want you to absolutely go out and continue to spread the word to subscribe to our YouTube channel. A slow crawl. We're getting there. We're going to be at 600 before we know it. And it's all because of all of you out there, and we appreciate you so much. Again, we're getting texts and messages daily that people are finding us and they're spreading the word, and just gotten a lot of great, kind comments, Faith. And we do it because we love it, and we want to include everybody in. We want to make everybody feel like this is their show. It's not just you and I sitting on here talking about whatever we want to talk about. If there's something people want to talk about, we'll talk about it. Derek jumps in right here at the end and says, will Broom play? I'm going to go ahead and say I think he does play. I think that he does play tomorrow. Now, again, I don't know how many minutes he's going to play, but I do think I think we'll see him back. I think Janai Broom wants to be on the floor, and I think he wants to be on the floor in this game, and I think it's a big stage. Again, I know we have talked about it. This game's not going to determine whether Auburn wins a national title or not, but it's a big deal. It's the first game day appearance all year for ESPN. So if he can play, Faith, I think they're going to have a hard time keeping him off the floor.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I don't think he needs to go in there and re-injure himself.
No, definitely not.
But I don't think he'll play unless he is 110%
right
back to good health. So
we'll see. I think we can win the game, obviously, without him, especially at home. So I think they'll make a determination today in practice, and I don't think they'll make any announcements. You'll just have to wait till game time to see what happens if you see Janai Broom in there. Again, want to thank our sponsors as we head out, Faith. We want to thank Sense of Green for air that's cool and clean. Call on Sense of Green, the carrier experts here in the state of Alabama. We want to thank Scout Program Management, a full-service construction management firm in Birmingham handling education based construction projects. They also handle other projects, so you can call on them. Call on Bunkers. Go see Bunkers. Go eat at Bunkers. Go play some simulated golf. Go hang out with your friends. Have fun. Would not be surprised if the juniors in this junior day will be making their way to bunkers at some point in time this weekend. They may be out there tonight
I
as
absolutely think
they all arrive into town. So if you want to go hang out at a cool place, maybe run into some of these top ranked recruits, bunkers will probably be the place to go do that. And then, of course, Lee Apparel for all your apparel needs, promotional product needs. Call on Lee Apparel, and then Sign Source for all your sign needs. Again, a new office in Auburn that will open up in February, so you can go see them down there in Auburn if you're in the Auburn location. And then again, we've got a couple more that are coming on here in the month of February, Faith, and we're excited about them jumping on board as our podcast continues to grow here on the Auburn Blitz. So what do you have planned the rest of the day, Faith? Snow skiing, snowboarding?
Absolutely not.
None of that? Okay.
Lucy and I will be going on a nice long WALK. I don't want to say it because then she'll start bothering me.
Just like a child, you have to spell it out until the dogs. I don't know that they can spell yet, but like you can tell.
I think she can. She just started moving.
She heard it. She heard it a little bit. So, but that's, you find out real quick when your kids, when you start spelling things out, you've been spelling them, and then they really learn, and then you spell it out and they go, I know what you said.
Yep.
I know what you said. You can't hide it. So at that point in time, you can't even spell it out anymore. So
yeah, it's hard. But
so it'll be a good, nice sunny day to go out for a walk.
Yeah, hopefully there's not going to be any more ice out there. I've had a really big fear of slipping and falling and just embarrassing myself. So hopefully that's not going to happen.
You won't be the only one that's happened to. I've seen a lot of videos, by the way, on Instagram and on TikTok.
They're funny. They've made me feel better.
One poor girl busted so bad.
Oh,
it was
gosh.
terrible. Oh, it was so bad. So
there's been some really bad ones, but
yeah, be safe out there. And hey, roving reporter Faith going to report on the camping situation on campus. So I need to see some pictures. So when you get out and about,
I will. I'll put Lucy out in front of Neville Arena. And if anyone's out camping, I'll say, hey, hold my dog. Take a picture.
Take a picture. We got a pose right here. Well, good deal. I'm glad to see that the cold is going away and we're going to be warming up through the weekend. And it's going to be a fun time in Auburn. It's going to be a big weekend. We hope all of you have a great weekend. Remember, Auburn Blitz will be coming up at noon. I will be on that show with Wade Bennett and with Uncle T-Bone. So that should be a lot of fun. I've got to jump on the Gary Harris show here in about 15 minutes on Tide 100.3. I know that's a bad word on this podcast, but I like Gary. He's a good friend. So I'll be giving the Auburn report up in Tuscaloosa, Alabama here in about 15 minutes for all of you that want to tune in if you didn't have enough of me already here on the Auburn Blitz podcast. So, Faith, have a great day. Be safe out there walking Lucy, and big weekend. And you and I will be back here on Monday morning to talk about it. So we're excited.
Absolutely. We'll have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, War Eagle, everybody.
War Eagle.